I'll be back. Richard Hart will be back. Folks, are you enjoying this organic pump, as Lucky Luke 369 has said? He says, you really feel the wind has changed, haven't you? This pump felt really organic and strong indication of what is to come. I totally agree. And you know what's interesting? I think that I'll start out today and welcome you to Crypto Heartbeat. My name's Matt. I really encourage you. This is the start of a new year. I started on October 1st. So this would be a new year for streaming coming up tomorrow. And I'm excited because there's a lot of new people that are going to be coming into the Pulse chain. And I'm going to be focusing on this would be like crypto over 50, right? That's where I'm going to focus my attention. People that are new, that don't really understand crypto, and they want to hear from a guy who's got gray hair. That's kind of going to be my focus here over the next year. I'm going to start streaming a lot more related to crypto and helping, inform, educate, all those things, bring more people into the Pulse chain because we need to get to work. And why do I say that? Because when I first started, there was a guy named Crypto Panda. Many of you that are OGs know Crypto Panda. And I remember when I first talked to him and did an interview, he shared with me how down and depressed he was because of the last cycle. And if you want to, walk down memory lane, you can watch that interview with Crypto Panda, but he really was shaken up. And I'm going to tell you, I had no idea what he was talking about. Zero idea what he was talking about. And now I know exactly what he's talking about. So experiencing the literally depths of a bear market when you have seen the very heights. And that's exactly what Crypto Panda was describing. And I did not know what he meant. And I know exactly what it means now. And so there's some things that I have learned just by living it, and you have too. But if you're new, I'm going to be sharing some things with you that I think are principles and the basis. Never will share with you what you should invest in. This is not a place for advice as it relates to finances, but it's to understand this thing because obviously in the last couple of years we've seen it and we're seeing it today. I'm going to make a case for it that we're going mainstream with crypto. And that's really good for those of us who have been in and those of you who are paying attention now, because this is the beginning of what we consider an altcoin season. And I believe we just saw the first taste of it here in the last week. And especially the narrative around the Pulse chain, because we see something significant. And all I encourage you to look at is just look at the volume in the last week on Hex on the Pulse chain. And you got to understand, it's hard for people to get resources or value into the Pulse chain. There's like $9 million of volume in the last, I think it's last week. And maybe the last day, 24 hours. There's a lot of volume. And you'll see those things pick up. But I'm going to be bringing some basic things, some basic principles to you just over the course of these. But most of what I focus on is really the community. And so there's some awesome people here. I'm going to say hello to you. And the cool thing about this stream, and you'll notice, and I get criticized for this all the time, is that I talk to too many people in the chat. Well, sorry, that's just the way this works. So if you want to be shouted out in the chat, you just need to make a comment, and I'm going to say hello to you. Lucky Luke, shout out again to you. Thanks for that comment. A great way to start the show. Sam Kemp, world events will have a dramatic effect on the crypto market. Be ready. Amen to that, Sam Kemp. Sam is an OG in multiple categories. But Sam Kemp, thanks for being here. And he's absolutely right. And I think one of the things he's talking about, besides kind of geopolitical stuff, is the election we've got coming up here on the 5th of November. And this is, watershed moment for the United States. It's a make it or break it election. And people say that in the past. No, this is really true. Why? Because honestly, if there's ever a chance for Texas independence, Kamala Harris will deliver it for us, if you know what I'm saying. But Sam, thanks for being here. You're absolutely right. And you have to be sensitive to those things. Case in point, we've got a pullback happening that happened basically in the last 24 hours. So this isn't just all up and to the right. It never pauses. It never drops. And so the thing about it is it's encouraging and it's coming at just the right time. Folks, we are close to the U.S. election. It's going to affect things globally. And then, of course, we got crazy geopolitical news out there. 55 people here. Thanks for joining the Pulse today. My name's Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat. I'd encourage you, if you're someone over 50, and generally it's dudes, you need to subscribe to Crypto Heartbeat. That's it. There's not many people that are speaking to this audience in the Pulse chain. And so I'm going to carve out that niche, if you know what I mean. And you don't have to be 50. You could be like 49. MT Coiner, what's up? It's so great to see you back. Magnus is back as well. All the usual suspects. DCR, what's going? Mobius. You know what's so great is I almost feel like we need this for each other, right? I need this and you need this. And I'm just saying, shout out Mobius. It's been a long winter. Springtime is here in the crypto seasons. Crypto buddy, haha, crypto over 50. Love it. Thanks, man. God's child is here. Have you abandoned Texan token? No. See, you know what's interesting about Texan token? And actually, let's use this as an opportunity to talk about one of the principles, and that's the principle of bonded liquidity. So, for those of you who don't know what it is, and most of you do, but what does bonded liquidity mean? So, in a V2 pair in Uniswap, so in a DEX, which is a decentralized exchange, you have to take two things of value and you need to pair them up together. And that's a very standard traditional thing, right? I have this one thing, I'm going to put this other thing that's of known value, and I'm going to connect those together, and that liquidity is going to be bonded. What happens is there's a number of different pairs, but that's how the market is made by individual people within a decentralized exchange. And so people just put up value. I have this thing, and I'm going to put this thing, and I'm going to say these things are equal. Well, that sets a price in the market on a DEX, and then people can add different types of coins, but they have to add equal value, and that's in a V2 pair. Well, what does that mean? Well, whenever you're tied to those things, you're bonded to that liquidity. What's crazy though is the liquidity essentially spiders out. So when you connect to multiple different tokens, you're essentially kind of tying yourself to their price action. And so that's what's called bonded liquidity. In the Pulse chain, that bonded liquidity is generally with PLS. And of course, PLS is connected to PLSX and also to Hex. And so as one thing moves, the other thing moves. And you'll see that when you watch the chart. So if you go to the Texan token chart, and to prove to you that that has not been abandoned, let me show you. I had prepared for this. This is the Texan token chart, and this is at a 4-hour. So this is a 4-hour. And you can see down, 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 down. And what has changed, right? Beginning of September, up. Okay. This is not because of tremendous volume. The volume here is, in the last 24 hours is like $1,000. Okay. There's still not a lot of action happening, but we see this rise. Why do we see this rise? It's because what it is paired with is rising. And see, this is the whole concept of a rising tide lifts all boats. Okay. And I think that that's a really important thing to understand is that in this next run, which will be the altcoin run, you're going to see something very interesting happening. That is, as Pulse goes up, as Pulse X goes up or Hex goes up, you see it pulls other things with it. Now, you can't just bank on that, but it's true. Okay, so bonded liquidity. So when you say, have you abandoned Texan token? No. One of the things people have this idea of in decentralized finance is that they think it's centralized, where founders have to hustle their thing, right? The key to this is we did this project for the Texas nationalist movement. Okay. And the whole point was we wanted to support them and we wanted to raise money for them. And so do I love Texan? Absolutely. Do I love Texas independence? Absolutely. Do I love the TNM? Yes. Do I love the cause? Absolutely. But it's not purely my responsibility. And I think it's the same thing that Richard would say. It's like, why aren't you shilling for us? Okay. Here I am shilling for Texan token. Do I believe that the first endowment contract on the blockchain is going to be really beneficial to the people who hold it? I do. Why? Because of a number of things that I know will happen in the future that I have control over. Other things, not so much. And so if you love Texan token, you hold Texan token, you want to shill Texan token, frankly, it's the reason I started this stream this morning, is because I want to start a more regular streaming schedule, because I know that we have to be out there reminding people, because there's a lot of noise in crypto. And to me, the main message isn't Texan token. The main message isn't Ophir token. The main message is we together on the Pulse chain are building the alternative financial system. And it's a system. And so what we're working at is we're trying to tackle two of the hardest things to solve in crypto. So behind the scenes, there's two things that are the hardest things to solve. The number one thing that rich people that are not in crypto say is, what is it backed by? That's number one. And number two, they say, if I get in, how do I get out? Those are two things that crypto does not have an explanation for. So what do people see it as? What do people over 50 with money And those are generally the people who have money. What do they usually say? They say it's a casino. And they're right. Why? Because it's speculative. Once the top is in, it drops 85%. Hmm. This is called speculation, folks. This is the casino. That's what crypto is, especially in the alternative coins. So if somebody's going to solve this problem, because if you really think about a casino in this analogy that we're using, basically what you're hoping is that dumb people come in late and give you exit liquidity. So really what it is crypto ultimately is abstracted stealing. You steal from someone who is less educated and comes in later than you. There's not That's the big challenge in crypto. And so how do you change that? Well, I'm glad you asked because there's a really interesting thing you need to see that came out today. And that is this. You've probably heard of a group called, let's see if this is showing up. No, it's not showing up. I'll have to pull this open. Have you heard of a group called BlackRock? Not many people have. And of course, I kid. Let's make this bigger. Okay. Pardon all of the ads. 16 trillion by 2030. BlackRock is quietly backing a radical new US dollar rival amid a Bitcoin and crypto price boom. Think that's pretty big news? I think that's some of the biggest news in crypto that people are not covering. So what does this really mean? What's going on? So BlackRock, who is basically said, we're going to tokenize everything. We're going to tokenize everything in the world. Well, why would BlackRock, this large, leviathan of an entity, care about US dollar stablecoins? So let's take a look at this. So this is really important stuff as you look at how do you solve these big problems? That's what I'm interested in. How do you solve this issue of what's it backed by? And if I get in, how do I get out? I think that is smart rather than going, hey, what meme coin are we going to follow and everybody join into? And because I don't want to participate in a system that is abstracted stealing. I don't. I'm not interested in that. I don't want to fool people within the Texas nationalist movement that come late because they see green candles and take their money. That's not what I'm in it for. And it's probably not what you're in it for. But when you see it for what it is, you're like, yeah, you're kind of right. Like if you know what's going on, it's like the dummies, right? The dummies are the exit liquidity, right? Those are the guys that buy the top. Well, you're taking from them because in a decentralized exchange, that's what it is. And people don't like me saying that. They don't like that at all because they kind of feel guilty about it. Like, yeah, you're kind of right. I do want dummies to come in after me and I'll take their money. And they think when I know that the top's in, I get out and they keep on throwing in exit liquidity for everyone else that's selling it down. That's why it goes down 85%. But BlackRock understands this as a real economic system. And so do I. And so do we as a team. And so how are we going to do that? We got to back it with real world assets. So take a look at this. They talk about the surge this week and Bitcoin doubling and all of those things. Now, as fears are swirling, the US dollar is on the verge of a total collapse. Interesting. They're just catching up. BlackRock's USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund. Well, for the layman, that's a bunch of resources, right? That's backing it with something of value. And this is what they call their BUIDL, is being used to back a new stablecoin. You need to pay attention. If BlackRock's getting involved in stable coins, you should be aware of it. It's described as a key milestone in the 16 trillion by 2030 race to tokenize finance. Interesting. So I want to encourage you to take a look at this new institutional digital liquidity fund and the fact that BlackRock's getting into the stablecoin game. Why? Folks, why tokenize anything? So let's talk about this. Tokenization of assets. Why would you do this? Well, currently, assets generally are locked and they're not liquid. Okay, so think about this. Liquid would be cash in your bank account, right? That's liquid. You can spend it right now. There are things that are harder and harder to liquidate, right? So if you've got farmland, you have to have a buyer. Let's say you own 1,000 acres. You have to have somebody who wants 1,000 acres. It's hard to be liquid when you're in land like that. Well, think about all the different financial products currently that are not tokenized. That's what they're trying to do. Why? Because the way BlackRock makes money and the way that we as an organization want to make money is by transaction volume, right? By making the market. Well, they're the big market maker in the whole world, right? This idea that if we can basically tokenize these things and back them with real world assets, then investors have confidence. Well, what do we want in the pulse chain? If we're building an alternative financial system, we can't just have a speculative casino. So if we're going to really address the fundamental problems, we're going to back it with real assets. And that's what we're focused on doing is how do you bring real world assets that are redeemable into the pulse chain? But more importantly, what is BlackRock doing and why is it important? Because if you're going to have a financial system that actually operates and doesn't completely die every 4 years, you have to have it backed by something. And so they see this opportunity to tokenize these real world assets, first financial products, and then it's going to be all natural resources and everything. Why? Because if you can tokenize them, you can then trade them. And if you can trade them, they can be used as liquidity. And you have a lot more transactions. BlackRock, in fact, is building a new rival stock exchange right here in the great state of Texas. Folks, there's a lot going on that you need to be aware of. But this is the challenge. And this is why Crypto Heartbeat is doing this, right? Crypto over 50. Why am I focused on this? Because this resonates with people who've lived a couple years and realize they don't just want to gamble in a casino. There are plenty of places you can gamble in a casino. I mean, look at you watch any sport event, DraftKings is promoting it. Every sports book is promoting it. And I think one of the ways that reasonable people don't put real money into crypto is because it's not backed by anything. And when you get in, it's hard to get out. I hope you have ears to hear what I'm saying. But this isn't, if you're looking for the pump of the most recent meme coin, you're not going to get it here. So, but if you're interested in understanding, hey, how do you solve this problem? Because in my opinion, Richard Hart knows it. He has been preaching it and I've been paying attention. And so if you saw the thumbnail, you'll love it. It's I'll be back. Well, it's kind of a mix, right? I mixed like the Matrix and, the Terminator together. What does that mean? I'll be back. Well, Richard Hart obviously tweets. He hasn't streamed in a long time. But we got this SEC case that's coming up on the 31st of October, right? He's going to actually be present in court. And a bunch of people are going to go. I know some folks that are going to go actually to the event. It's not an event. When Richard Hart's there, it's an event. It's actually a court hearing. And I think what's really exciting about this is, and Richard's talked about this a lot, the sacrifice for Pulse was for freedom of speech. And then Pulse X was the freedom of movement, essentially, right? The freedom to associate, to move. And those things are fundamental. Well, at the time, they really weren't as under attack and they weren't front and center in the mainstream. This is the most important topic of this election is free speech. Richard Hart was way ahead of the game. But now what is he trying to do with this case with the SEC? Ultimately, there needs to be a court case that decides whether or not your personal writing to the blockchain. So think about this. Most people don't know this. You connect to the blockchain. You do not hold coins in your wallet. That is a misnomer. It's on. You have keys to access doing business on the blockchain. And that's basically reading and writing on the blockchain. Well, you have to have keys and you have to pay the gas in order to write to it. Well, if you're an author and you write a book, there is an inherent ownership of something that you create. And that's why Richard says, hey, if you want a picture of a pony, you can draw one. Why does he say that? It seems like weird. Well, help me understand that. If you don't have a picture of a pony and you have a pen and a pencil or a piece of paper, you can draw one. The point is you have creative ability to create something and write and to author something. When you pay the gas fee and you literally write to a ledger, that's what it is, folks. It's not with a pen, but that's what you're doing. And it's your choice to do it. So in the past, there's a huge precedent for a long, long time that if you write something, it's yours. This authorship, it's extended to computer code. This is a well-worn path. What he's basically saying, this is no different. When an individual user decides that they're going to do something on the blockchain, they are authoring content and writing to a ledger. If that precedent is set, that you writing to the blockchain is speech, game over. And the whole purpose for Richard going this direction and doing this and being smarter than everybody else is the fact that this precedent needs not just for the Pulse chain, all of crypto. The world needs this. The world needs this precedent set. And, I'm so impressed with Richard because most people don't understand him. And they just think he's just some guy's flamboyant guy. No, he's wicked smart. And he'll be back. But he's got to do this. And he's doing this for us because, a guy with that kind of money, and I don't know if you know this, but Richard Hart is a multi-billionaire, at least on paper. And when you think about that, if you were a multi-billionaire, right? You had the access to just basically unlimited money. What would you do? Most of you would not be fighting for other people's rights. You'd be on a beach somewhere, right? You would have checked out long ago. You're like, I don't want to remember nothing, right? You just want back in the matrix. And here's a guy who's actually concerned about you and himself, right? His goal is to get the glory, but in the meantime, we benefit from that. And we need somebody that we need leadership, and that's real leadership. And so, what do I say? The Pulse chain is the alternative financial system. Is it complete? Is it a fully integrated, you know, I don't know, vertically aligned ecosystem yet? It's getting closer, but no, it's not. But that's the thing, folks. Where are you going to where are you going to bet? You going to bet on some sort of centralized deal that's going to have a, social credit score and a government ID wallet? No, no. But you have to understand these fundamentals and understand what you're supporting. So freedom and sovereignty is a function of this. And so that's why I'm in it. And that's very, very important. But that's why BlackRock's doing this. And so what should we be doing? Well, a lot of people just want the casino. They just want to get one Lambo. Well, if you're over 50 years old and you see grandkids coming, you realize, hang on a second, I got to make this place better than it is now, right? I got to leave it better than I found it. That's a basic thing I think anyone with any sense does. And so what do you do? Well, how do we contribute to something and fundamentally buttress it with value? And I think that's the only way that a decentralized alternative financial system is going to be strong is if it owns, or the people that are a part of it own assets and back things with real world assets that are redeemable. And my favorite redeemable asset is gold, right? It should be gold backed. That's how I see it, or at least precious metals, but it needs to be redeemable. And so that's the focus. And so, folks, if you don't see it, well, okay. I mean, I didn't see it at the beginning. I learned a lot of this stuff from Richard Hart and just kind of experiencing it myself. And you know what is a really good teacher? A bear market. It's taught me a tremendous amount. All right, let's go back and let's see who else is here. I said we're going to get through all of this. All right, here we go. Magnus, what's up? Hang on, where am I? Oh yeah, keep punching Team Richard Hart. When Richard won Lambo, soon I think. Absolutely. Magnus is 56. Welcome to the club. It is so good. We're just a couple years apart. Let's onboard and get them involved. Absolutely. That's where the real money is, in my opinion. Good to see you, Matt. Laser Pulse. Blake V. It's time to lock in. Dude, I love this attitude. By the way, 111 people across 3 platforms right now we're streaming to. Thank you so much for being here. We have a ton of people on X. Folks, I'd love it if you would subscribe on YouTube. That would be really helpful. You'll never miss anything. We're going to get back to streaming regularly on crypto, on these principles, and focused on people over 50. And if you're over 45, we'll let you in too. Crypto buddy. Also, don't forget about the massive influx of FTX money about to hit the market. Absolutely. Absolutely. Folks, there's so many good signs that we're going mainstream. I mean, 2 or 3 weeks ago, Trump at some deal was buying hamburgers with Bitcoin, which I thought was pretty good. But that's what's interesting too. And we could talk about the election, but I'm going to tell you, this is a really, really consequential one. Anyway, I'm not going to go there yet. Hex Glenn, what's going on? Francis Paul is back. Daniel, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Mr. Rock Jockey all the way from the Philippines. Well, maybe not from the Philippines, but it's so good to have you here. Mr. Rock Jockey is always super supportive of everyone around Ophir Crypto. So absolutely love it that you're here. But BTC went from a penny to 70,000. That ain't a casino. Well, no. Okay, great point. But you're talking over a period of 14 years? That's value. Absolutely. Is there inherent value? Yeah, because when it drops, it doesn't drop to its earlier point. So it's a stair step, right? But if you think about this, what is a casino? A casino is speculation. And you have to say, BTC has become, after 14 years, it's become much more stable, right? If you look at the drops that happen, it doesn't drop as significantly, but still 85% drops, but the value that's retained is there. A lot of these altcoins, and I think the point that I'm making is within the Pulse chain, new tokens that come out, the fear is a rug pull. That's complete zero. But if you have something that's sustainable, it will grow in value over time. You can store value. But I think the big wins, and I guess this is the point that I'm trying to make. And Laser, you're making a. I appreciate you splitting this hair with me. There's long term value in crypto, but it's not just going to be because we just waited it out. What bothers me is good, honest people, right, that come into this and people are shilling to them and saying it's going to the moon. And it's really a lie because ultimately, if you've got something that's new, and what are people? People are greedy and they want to get 100x, 1000x, 10,000x. And they think maybe it's going to be me because why do people get into crypto still? It's because it's like, yeah, I heard about this Bitcoin guys that got in for like nothing. And now it's like $70,000 and they're like gazillionaires. I want to be gazillionaire. And that's what draws them in. Maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe Luna, maybe this one will be the thing, right? And that's the hype train, right? And what I'm trying to do is to caution you that it is a casino in the sense that you can lose. Well, 85% of your value, besides a rug pull, 100% of your value. But the long-term benefit is it's going to have some sort of backing because you imagine this scenario. Imagine everything in the pulse chain was backed by gold, and that's obviously very unrealistic. But imagine you could literally trade to a gold-backed token, and then you could redeem for physical gold. That's the ultimate dream, right? So you could hedge at any time, right? And so, understanding that value, right? When we got off the gold standard in 1972 with Bretton Woods, we found ourselves in a situation where, you know, there's two sides of this. It's not all bad. One of the good sides is when we broke away from the gold standard, we just printed really, really cheap money. Well, guess what? A lot of things have been built with that cheap money. The problem is we're in a tremendous amount of debt, right? Because it's been such easy money. But I mean, look across the landscape. A lot has been built with that cheap money, but we're paying the price for it. And I think that what we're realizing is, when I was a kid, I remember I wanted something and it was either your birthday or Christmas. If you're somebody like that, let me know in the chat. Right? Yeah, +1 for that type of thing. If you grew up in a time where you actually had to wait, my kids don't wait for Jack. Most people don't wait for Jack. I mean, homeless people have $1,000 iPhone, right? The easy money has gotten us to a point where the idea of poverty, for the most part in the United States, is like, well, I don't have the latest iPhone 16. And of course, that's somewhat hyperbolic. I want to be realistic, but you get my point. Is that it's changed a lot. You used to have to wait for things, and now it's like, no, you can have it now, and that's this whole debt cycle that we're in. Sovereign debt will be the death of us, right? The empire of America will fall. The Western world is built on the back of cheap, easy money, and that's why BlackRock is doing what they're doing. I'm telling you the truth. If we're going to have something that's sustainable and an alternative financial system, that we don't have to have a government ID. We don't have to have, a social credit score. We don't have OFAC compliance. We don't have all of those things. We have to build it on our own, but it has to stand on its own. That's why having our own stablecoin is important. When you think about the whole PDI story and what Richard has done by, copying over the system state. So I'm going to pause for a second. If you don't know about the Pulse chain is an Ethereum fork. It's exactly Ethereum, but it copied over all the tokens. So if you're somebody that was you're in Ethereum and you have coins in your wallet in Ethereum, chances are you've got them on the Pulse chain too, the copy version. Well, in theory, they should have no value. It's just a copy, right? It should be zero value, but it doesn't. It has value. And Richard, in his genius, understood what he was doing. At the beginning of all of that, he got into the maker contract. There's some really interesting things about what happens with stable coins on the Pulse chain, because that's the last thing, in my opinion, that's so significant is stable coins. Obviously, fiat off ramp, fiat on ramps getting better, but that's an issue as well. But I think we're coming to a point here where, look at what's happening with the mainstream centralized people, MasterCard, PayPal, all of these folks are essentially giving you ways in which you don't have to go to fiat in order to get goods and services. And so really the value of crypto, if you really think about it, and I'm going to simplify this, you have to now get back to fiat in order to do something that you want, right? That Lambo, you can't buy it with Hex or Texan, right? But there's coming a time where they will accept that. So I'm going to tell you, we will know that we are there when either Walmart.com or Amazon.com accepts stablecoin, and a stablecoin that you could either bridge or just simply swap for. That means that the value that you have stored up in crypto immediately gets you what you want delivered to your door, in some cases within 4 hours or less. That's going to be the ultimate watershed moment, but we're not there yet. We're getting much, much closer. But if you think about it, this is why we're doing this, right? The alternative financial system, at a certain point, you won't need to go to fiat. And that's really what BlackRock is preparing for. So, Laser PLS, you make a really good point. You do store up value. When it drops 85%, it doesn't drop to zero, and it continues to build value. But really what I'm talking about is within this, new layer one of the Pulse chain, a lot of these tokens that are coming out, that's not the intent. The intent is get in, convince other people to get in, and then ultimately get out before the top and let them hold the bag. And that's really the point I'm making. Shalom to you, Roan3927. Blessings and peace, Sir Matt. Good to see you. Crypto Compassion. Hey, welcome back. All on. What's going on? It's been a while. Nice to see y'all. I'm glad actually you guys came out. 137 people across 3 platforms here. Thank you so much. Most of you folks are an X platform, and I'm super excited about where X is going, because I think a lot of people are concerned with the censorship that's on the YouTube side. Crypto Stylist. Man, I tell you, there are indicators and then there are indicators. Folks, if you don't know Crypto Stylist, you should, but she is fabulous. And I think that's the perfect word for her, but a sparkling, fabulous diamond, but an indicator of where we are. People are excited. They want to hear content. Hey, are we right? Are we actually going to be doing this? Yeah, we're going to be doing this. But here's the big caution. The big caution is we're excited. And it's good to have some, wind in your sails. But there's an election coming up. You need to be aware of that. But I encourage you, I think once we understand what the outcome of this election is, buckle your seatbelts. So in a way, you kind of got a little bit of a warning here, right? It's going to be September. So we've got October and a little bit of November. So we've got like 40 days, 37 days until the election. And of course, add an extra 2 weeks for them to figure out how to count the extra ballots. And, once that is all said and done, I think we've got every barrier out of our way. And then, of course, if there's a Trump win, I think we're going to, these wars are going to be over. There's going to be some pretty interesting things that happen. And I think a lot of people across the world are hoping that, hey, we have a U.S. foreign policy that's not trying to be the police of the world. That's really not trying to pick a fight with everyone so that they can pay off their, corporate cronies in the military industrial project. Yeah, program. That you get what I'm saying. Crypto Stylist, glad you're here. Hello. Charles Stone, what's going on? Good to see you. And you're right. Since when is software writing and create a security? Yeah, good point. Yeah, well, if you think about, securities in general, the SEC, yeah, I would think you make a good point. This should probably be under the commodity side of things, but that's also something that's going to be decided in all of this. But you know what? We have to have, the regulatory regime. There needs to be regulation, but it needs to be known. You need to at least know how to follow the rules. If you want to see a crazy, crazy case, it's the debt box case. The SEC got fined for going after them with regulatory capture to the debt box folks, basically, trying to put them out of business. Folks, when we're looking at the things that we're doing, we're actually looking at jurisdictions outside of the United States. We're looking at the Isle of Man. We're looking at Dubai. We're looking at Switzerland, because they actually have a regime. They've got sandboxes. They've got these things. So I think that's a big issue. And I think a big thing with the Republicans and Trump is, hey, we're losing a lot of value. We're sending a lot of this stuff overseas. Whereas, do we want it to be here? Yeah. Well, then get our act together with regulations. Absolutely. Charles Stone is oh man, he wants to make the world a better place, and we can do it by fixing and taking back control of our speech, time, and wealth. Well said, my friend. Well said. But this is the man. I was excited about Crypto Stylist being in this stream, but Mark Rastelli being in this is a blast from the past. Just so you folks know, Mark Rastelli was one of the first guys that um, came into my channel. I mean, years ago, and this was back when we were excited at that time. I think I'm not sure where Hex was at that time, but I want to say it was around 15 cents and moving up to 52. And I met Mark, and I actually did an interview with him sitting in front of I think the water in Pittsburgh. And so, Mark, it is so good to see you, dude. Misery loves company, my friend. Christopher, Richard Hart, Maxi winning all. It was the way all along. I think we knew that, but you know what? There were touch and go moments, right? There are a lot of things that created fear. The greatest thing was the resilience of the hexagons, in my opinion. And of course, I've learned my lesson. People that have gone through multiple bear markets they understood this stuff. I was unaware, and now I am aware. Okay. And here's the latest piece of advice. So for those of you who are not in crypto, and if this doesn't change and we don't have backing and all of those things, here's what you need to know. The reason that Richard Hart says, I called the top on the day, I just thought it was like braggadocious and that nerds within crypto like to say, no, this is why. When the top is in, and everyone is out for 4 years. I'm going to say that one more time. If you have not been in crypto and you have not experienced this, your coin will never go back up. It's going to take another 3.5, 4 year cycle. You're going to have to wait. And that's why calling the top is so significant. So when Richard brags about I called the top on the day, that's the warning to everyone to get the heck out of Dodge. And that's what they did. And it dropped 98%. Okay. That's the problem with crypto. You lose it all. And the people are like, well, no, it's going to go back up. We can do this. It's going to be, well, they haven't experienced that cycle. And the smart people in crypto would tell you the whales drive everything. Okay. And this is the way the world works. That's why BlackRock runs the show. They're the whale in the traditional financial world. So look at the Pulsechain or look at crypto in general, Ethereum, whatever. The whales drive everything. They manipulate the market. I used to trade futures, and it would drive me crazy when I was ready to have like this greatest win. It would go wick, and the wick would wick you out, right? It would stop you out. They knew exactly what everyone was hoping for. And so what did they do? The big boys stole from us, the retailers. That's how it works, folks. It's no different in crypto. That's what I'm trying to fight against. Is the fact it's not backed by anything. If you get in, you can't get out. That's a problem because of this volatility. But that's the game. Okay. So big players run things. So if you're a guy's got $1,000 in this thing and you're like, hey, I'm going to try this thing out, be aware when the top is in, everybody with any money gets out and it just goes down. It might have little pumps here and there and get you excited. Do not fall for it. I fell for it. Yeah. Lost about $500,000 doing that. So, folks, I'm just telling you the truth. So, if you're over 50, you haven't been in crypto before, when the top is in, it's in, and you're going to wait 4 years, period. Okay. Now, mainstream, we're getting there. But at the end of the day, that's the nature of it. But that's why there are gains, right? If it didn't have any risk, there wouldn't be any reward. And so that's the challenge of all this. Okay. So you just need to be aware of those things. So we talked about bonded liquidity. We talked about decentralized exchanges. We're talking now, obviously, about this issue of volatility. And once the top is in, it's in. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little prediction. And please this is not a price prediction. This is a timing prediction. If you just look at past cycles, I think what we're going to see is November 6th, which is the day after the election. And there'll be some pricing of it in right prior to the election. Once, people think they understand which way it's going to go. We're going to have the most massive parabolic run over the course of the next 10 to 11 months. So I think, October or November of 2025, it's all over again. Okay. That's the top. Okay, so plan accordingly. But here's the thing. If you're new in crypto and you're just coming to the table, congratulations, you don't have to deal with the pain. For the most part, this thing's going to go up and to the right. Do me a favor. I'm going to go right to the bottom. I want you to put in, and this is just for my own, polling here. Put in the chat, if you're willing to, what you think the top of Ethereum is going to be in November 2025. Just give me a price, right? So we're sitting at what, 2,600, around 2,600 right now. What's one ETH going to be at the end of this bull run? Okay, I've got a number. I want to see what your number is. Throw it in there. I'm waiting. I'm literally going to wait until I see what you put in. So, and I'm looking at the bottom of the chat. What is the price of one ETH going to be in November of 2025? Okay, so here we go. All right. Lucky Luke, $12,000. All right. Brown, conservative, capitalist one. I love it. 14,000. Pulsechain, insane gains is 22K. Holy crap. Briz, dude, the biz with Briz. What's up, Briz, man? You're the man. Thanks for being here. He's even got a wrench. Briz says 17,000 alive for the first time, 3,700. Nope, I don't think so. 20K. Texan, 10K, 37K. Ryan Hungate for the win. For the love of God, thank you so much for being here. 7K. Archie, total guess. Okay, and then Empty Corner says, I wouldn't be surprised to see 15. Okay. I'm on the conservative side. I sit, Mobius, 12.5. What's up, dude? I know we need to connect. I got lots of news for you, my friend. Okay, so if I took all of those things and I average them, and I'm going to do that calculation really fast because I'm not very smart, I'm going to say about 10K. So let's just think about this. So that's a 4X, right? Let's say we're about 2,500 bucks. Tell me where you can get a 4X on your money. I'll wait. Where can you get it? And that's like with a blue chip in Ethereum, right? So for those of you over 50 and you have real money, I'm not shilling anything. I'm just saying this is the crypto market, right? People are excited when they double their money. I mean, people are excited with 8%. I mean, think about that. Like it's amazing to me. Yeah, it's just amazing to me. This is crypto. This is what's exciting about it, And so if we're going to see $10,000 to $15,000 ETH, what is that? What's Hex going to look like? What's Pulse going to look like? What's going to happen if Richard Hart wins this case? That's why people are so excited. You imagine somebody said the other day they're like $3 to $4 Hex. That's a little bit steep for me, but holy crap! I mean, it went to 52, and Richard's sitting on what? A lot, and it's only going to move up. So this is a rising tide, but that's the beauty of the bull runs. That's why so many people are excited, is because, wow, we might actually get a shot at this again. And it's like, we've been sucking wind for a long time, folks, and it'll take its toll. We have to shake that off. Shake it off. Shake it off. Clear your head and recognize what we're going into here. But in my opinion, the biggest thing that I learned from Richard Hart is this. You have to be considerate of other people in addition to yourself. Okay? You have to. Actually, you don't have to. I think it would be recommended that you do. Why? Because if Richard Hart didn't care about you, he wouldn't be doing what he's doing. He cares about himself. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to have concern for yourself. Of course you do. Your family, got to bless and protect them. But think about this. The whole point of this is that we're working together within our own system, right? Do we want people to be left in the ditch, bloody? No. And so we understand that in order for this to have value, it has to be backed by something. Well, this isn't the Lambo play. This is about how do you back something with real world assets. I'm just not okay with letting BlackRock own everything, right? You'll own nothing and be happy. No, we should own stuff. And so that's what we're focused on. We're focused on buying assets and backing crypto with them, specifically gold. And I think that's what it needs. Okay. So if you're a sensible person and perhaps you're a little older and grayer, you might find this channel helpful to you. Mark Rostelli, did you say Richard Hart will be attending the hearing? Yes, he will be attending the hearing on 10/31. That's why everybody's wanting to go. Is I think they want to get their selfie with the man himself. That's my understanding. Now, somebody that knows more could correct me, but that's my understanding. That's why the people are going. Yes, gold back token for real. Yes, sir. That's what we're working on. and real redeemable. And I don't mean a fake gold back token. I mean a real gold back token that you can redeem for physical gold. Great Monday to you. God bless you all today. What's up? Watching from the doctor's office. What's up, man? Tank Crypto. Got to bring that name back, man. HEB accepts Texas. Wouldn't that be great? Well, and here's the thing. And actually, this is a really good point. Tex and Pinoy, well, this is really good. Retailers aren't going to accept volatile assets. They're going to accept stable coins, right? And so we already see this with PYUSD, which is Paxos's product that they have been providing for PayPal. Well, right now, theoretically, if somebody has the integration on their website with the PYUSD and the integration from PayPal, and they got 600 and some odd million users, you could literally take Hex, take Texan, swap to PYUSD, and buy whatever you want. But that's the future. That's where this is going. That's why we're kind of storing up value within the blockchain, understanding that at some point in the future, you're not going to have to go to fiat. Like, that's the real win. Well, that's one of the big wins. Morning from the doctor's office. God bless the entire blockchain community. Thank you, Heartbeat, for your continued positive message. Interested. Amen, brother. Pineapple 8888. Been a while streaming. When BTC on its way untrend bullish trend on long-term time frame? Not sure how to respond to that one. Goshen, good to see you, sir. Are you enjoying the mini bull run? You know what, I am, and it's funny, like the cycles of life. So, just as a point of personal privilege, every year around this time, the Texas State Fair happens, and I've been in this area, Central Texas, for the last 24 years. I came in 2000. And in that time, every single year, when the Texas State Fair starts, the weather breaks. And I'm going to tell you, besides having a bear market, we had debilitating heat. And when you're in Texas with debilitating heat, you don't want to go outside. You don't want to do anything. And it's really cool that this coincides with that. And, I started my channel years ago on October 1st. And of course, there's something it does you, if you're a Texan, you know this. When the weather breaks and it's like 65 in the morning, you're like, oh my goodness, finally we got a shot. So for us, it's kind of a springtime in a way, in the fact that it cools off and you can actually function. But yes, I'm definitely enjoying the bull run, the mini bull run. It's an indicator. It's an indicator because we're not BTC maxis, right? The bottom was a long time ago for BTC. This is about this process by which things, people make their money in BTC and in ETH, and then it comes to the altcoins. And so we still need to see that. Now, think about this for a second. You want to know how early you are in what a good position you're in? ETH is at $2,600. It's under 3,000. Okay. It's not even to the all-time high. So that's kind of the key. When's it going to hit the all-time high? I think that's going to be around the election, because that's what happened the last two times. It's the exact number of days actually to November 6th, which is strange. Like, look at the chart and trace back to the, two tops ago, and then look at when it broke the all-time high. Take that number of days and lay it over this one. It's like exactly the same number. That would be right after the election. And that's when, kind of the banana zones, begins. That's my opinion. So right now, be careful, because there's too much volatility. There's too many things in this world. I mean, heck, we're on the verge of nuclear war. And the way that it looks like right now, the current administration would do anything to try to keep Trump from winning. And I think they want to start a war so that, their buddies in, the Defense Department and, Lockheed can make their money. Mayo, what's up? Hey, Hex fam. Pulsechain, awesome. If the Don wins, we win. It seems that way. At least in crypto. Ego Foundation, hello. Iconic DeFi, peace and abundance and goodwill to all. You know what, folks? We talk about scarcity versus abundance. It's just an illusion of scarcity, because those who have literally lording and hoarding the resources, that's really what's going on. There's abundant resources. The problem is you don't have them. That's what we're trying to change. Liberty or death. Love your streams, Matt. And you have the best gray hair in crypto. Dude, I work hard on it. I do take a shower before the stream, so that's something I consistently do. Archie, what's up? Pete Crypto, let's go, let's go, and then all the price predictions. I thank you for doing that. That was really helpful. And then of course Ryan Hungate's here. What's up? What's up? Crypto Silas said 10,000. I'm right there. My conservative number is 10,000. And I think that there's a psychological to that whole number. But the way it looks, Richard's call a while ago for BTC is 241,005. 241,500. He's already called that top. That was his prediction a while ago. And what is he looking at? He's just looking at the growth. If BTC tops out at 241.5, folks, where's Ethereum going to be? Holy mackerel. We got an exciting super cycle coming up. Empty corner. Didn't Hex just 4x? I know it went 185% up. I think it's down 12% today. And it's funny. I even hesitate to say this, but if you want to manipulate the market in Hex, let me tell you what to do. I'm not doing this. But so many Hexicans retired last time when it was at the top that they're still paying their bills with Hex. And so you can mark it. You can look at the calendar at the end of the month, right? Just look at the end of the month and you see the sells. It happens like clockwork. Steve Wright, very nice to be on with the chat. Steve Wright from Santa Barbara. Thanks for being here, Steve. Archie, it's exciting. We're getting started. Yeah, finally. I feel it, right? You can sense it when you go to church and pay your taxes. Yes. Is there a Discord or a Telegram group? Yes, there is. TikTok Tube. There's for all different sorts of things. Texan Token is our core community. Ophir Crypto. Those are the two core tokens. Here. But as far as Telegram, that's a good point. I need to create one for Crypto Heartbeat for all us old fellers. Did you see the article that said Fidelity Financial thinks Bitcoin will be worth 1 billion? I saw some number like that, Briz, and how crazy is that? Well, and you figure the ultimate supply shock, right? Mining's over, all of these things, will contribute. And then you think a collapse of the dollar. I mean, I guess that's reasonable. What do you think would do to the Pulsechain? Well, I mean, it just means that by that time, 2038, that means that we do have an alternative financial system. But I think we should use this. Briz, you're bringing up a great point. So let's make Briz's point even bigger. Imagine we fast forward to 2038. What does fiat look like? Right? This unsustainable debt spiral, right? Not paying back sovereign debt, destroying a nation, whatever. People are always going to be chasing yield. Because that's the whole point, right? Growth is everything, right? And the insatiable desire for growth and for yield is there. And so where's it going to be? Well, they're already moving over to Bitcoin and Ethereum and these things because it can do and probably will do a 4x at least in ETH. So why do people get into the speculative ones and follow people like Richard Hart? Because there's a really good chance you're going to get more X's in Hex and Pulse X. But Briz is making a really good point. If you think that far out, you realize that something's going to be the mainstream. So this is my prediction of the future by 2038. We have two systems, right? There's the digital centralized system and there's DeFi, true DeFi, because ultimately the centralized players are trying to get in. Like, look at Bitcoin itself. It is literally not decentralized anymore, but they want to tell you that narrative. Why? Because all of the centralized players hold the most of it, all the hash power, and then, who controls the mining hardware. And so it is really centralized. So we kind of are sacrificing, and this is Axia Live's quote, we have to sacrifice Bitcoin on the altar of decentralization. And what does that mean? It means Bitcoin ain't decentralized. Well, neither is Ethereum. OFAC compliance, all that stuff. And I understand why they have that. But look at Richard Hart. He's a purist. He's the only one. And I will say this, a hat tip to Cardano and Charles. What they're doing and what they've done most recently is actually a big deal when it comes to governance. Will Cardano be the winner? Well, I think only Cardano and the Pulsechain will sit as potentially truly decentralized. I think Cardano is going to be the nerd governance thing. And you know what it reminds me of? And if you're a nerd like me, you'll appreciate this reference. Back in the day, there was a company called Novell, and this was before basically they got destroyed by Microsoft. And so Novell was like way better product and all that. That's kind of the Cardano of the day. Cardano is Novell to me. And Microsoft and Windows NT is kind of potentially Pulsechain, meaning they know how to market better. And there's a whole cool story about that if you want to know. And you know how far it goes back. I'll give you a little bit of nerd history. The CEO of Novell, when they got screwed by Bill Gates and Microsoft, his name was Eric Schmidt. Eric Schmidt went on to run Google and try to destroy Microsoft. And that was because of bad blood over that transaction. Because they wanted to buy Novell, and at the last minute, they ducked out, and then they stole everything that they learned, and they started Windows NT and shut them out of the business. So that's kind of Cardano is Novell to me. Pulsechain is the Microsoft, barring the, population control Bill Gates. But the point is, and Briz is making, and I'm making, is that by that time, we have to have a decentralized financial system that operates truly at the will of the people. And it needs to be globally. You can access it. You can do whatever you want without having to answer to a centralized party. And that's what's at stake. And that's what I see this as. And most people that are looking at like one Lambo, they don't see it. So us older guys who actually understand what's going on here, it's just like defending anything, right? You let this election go and you've got a PAC Supreme Court. You've got a bunch of illegals who now are voters. And guess what? You have a one-party state. And America's gone. Well, there is some hope in this whole idea that we would actually decentralize. Because if you think about the idea of America is essentially a decentralization of, do what you want to do, stay out of my way. Let me do my thing. Let me create. Remove the barriers to me creating value. And that we're doing that as a digital state. It's called the Pulsechain. And Richard knows that. And this case is going to be a huge watershed moment if we get a precedent that says that writing to the blockchain is speech. I'm not sure that that's exactly on the docket, but you get it. Texan token RWA with gold. Wouldn't that be nice? Doc Vince, what's up? There's a good guy right there, folks. Doc Vince. Christopher, it's crazy that we're being 100% gate capped and we're still going to be the best performing asset next. Well, I think it's because there's enough people with enough resources that are smart enough to recognize that this is needed. It's kind of this whole thing. It's actually a lot like Trump, right? One of the challenges with polling for Trump is that there's a lot of people who will not tell you that they're voting for him. They will not tell you anything. They'll say, no, I'm an independent. And they're definitely voting for Trump, but they just don't want to be seen as voting for Trump. And that's the hard part. Same thing with Richard Hart, right? People don't want to say, oh, I'm in Hacks and I love Richard Hart. He's the best. They're like, isn't that the twerking guy? Yeah, people don't want to admit that. That's why I think it's actually doing well. You can gatekeep it all the time. But in a way, every great story has an adversary, right? You got a protagonist and an antagonist. And in a way, the reason that I think Hex is so resilient, besides the fact that it's a bunch of blue collar pirates, is the fact that it's got that antagonistic side of things. It's like underdog. We want the underdog to win. Don't you? I do. 210 people here. You're blowing my mind, folks. Texas Fair. Where? The Texas State Fair in Dallas in Fair Park. It's happening now. You can go say howdy to Big Tex. Speaking of Tex Hex, well, hello to that very missed familiar face. Thank you for being here, Tex Hex. You are another staple of the Pulsechain, the Hexagon community. Folks, there's some good people. There are some really good people. And speaking of another guy, over 50, but young looking, we are just not bullish enough. Yeah, we're experiencing step-by-step BTC on a ladder. There you go. It's not nearly enough. DJ Cryptomatic. You guys are blowing my mind. Whether you're staying in to watch it or not, just thank you for being here and just stopping in. If Balliet Brand stopped in, it would literally, I'd fall off my chair. DJ Cryptomatic, thank you for saying hello. Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you. Hex to $10. Wouldn't that be nice? Hello from Austin, Texas. I'm nobody. You're somebody here. And that's the other thing. Speaking of that, that's the other thing that's so great about this community. You have to go to an event in a bull run. I think that's important, right? You have to go to a Hexagon, Texagon, Pulsechain, Pulsex. You have to go to a community event, especially when the number's going up. And I went to Austin, Texas, was my first event I went to. and it was one of the greatest things ever. And if you want to see people from every walk of life, every race, every gender preference and pronoun, you can high five with them because they're winning together. And that's what I love about this community. And frankly, for those that know me, know that I am a believer in Jesus. And what's amazing about it is the idea of a church, right? What's the idea? It's a community of people that are considering others in addition to themselves. And so I see some beautiful things when I meet with people in person within this crypto community, because it's a group of people that others want you to win. I mean, belonging, fitting in. How many people have been so isolated since the Charlie 19? Like, this is an opportunity for you to connect with people. So if you get a chance, come to any event associated with the Pulsechain or hacks or just all that long list of things. Um, Ethereum at 10,000, everyone in Pulsechain would be very happy. Absolutely. D5 for the win. The end of the month. Hex dumpers. Classic. True. Classic, but true. I mean, I'm not saying everybody does it, but if you're not working and all you have is Hex to sell, and you're making yield, right? That's another thing that's pretty interesting. We are the underground railroad of finance. That's a great way to put it. Any way you want to kind of characterize the fact that there is a resistance. Why do we love great movies? I mean, this is Star Wars, right? Evil Empire, the resistance, right? Right? And here's the cool thing. Ryan Hungate is Chewbacca. Let's just accept that right now. Did you see the Rand? Yeah, his tricks. Yeah, he hid the hex bubble. That was funny. 100% stake. Thanks for sharing. DGen, Dougie Peach. And by the way, the Peach hasn't been in there because he's tough now. Look at that beard. What's up, man? Good to see you. Moons, ETH to 14,000. I think that's a good prediction. Pineapple 888. Humans in this dimension operating on lack mentality, our ego, mind identity, our beliefs, and subconscious mind. The truth is we are creators of our own universe. And there's a lot of case to be said that if you can observe it and it collapses the waveform, the pineapple, you're right. Choose your own adventure, your own destiny. You manifest and create your own future. Why? Well, language creates your future. Think about all this. Narrative is so much of this story. Like, who are you? Who is your family? What's your name? Right? Where do you live? What are you a part of? What do you identify? Right? What do you want? What are your goals? Do you prioritize them? Do you work towards them? Do you sit on the couch and just eat? Right? You will define your future by the language that not only you speak to yourself, but others speak to you. And that's one of the beauties of community, right? Who do you say I am? You can make that story up, folks. My pronounce our hex moon. Jack XY, thanks for being here. Appreciate that. I like anything with the moon in it. Briz, I made sure Rand saw bubbles on my It's fantastic. 214 people here across 3 platforms. Thank you so much for joining the Pulse today. Richard Hart will be back. And just think about it. I'll finish up with this. That's the theme of this. I'll be back. Think about that. That's Richard Hart, right? As the T800 saying, I'll be back. What does that mean? Richard tweets, timing is everything and things move. But you haven't seen nothing yet. Imagine, Richard's known this the whole time. If there's one thing Richard has is discipline. He has the discipline on the timing of things. Everybody's like, oh, please, 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 please do this for me. And he's like, you have no idea. And he calls you dum-dums. And I'm one of those dum-dums, right? Richard knows the cycles. He called the top on the day. That's significant. It's important. He understands the cycles. Well, look at how amazing this is with this case, right? Does it get thrown out here? I don't know. But the case aligning with this banana zone of a next bull run, the implications of a precedent of writing to the blockchain as speech, Richard Hart getting the glory. So here's the thing. If you're a Hex OG and you're holding a lot of Hex, 1, congratulations. 2, Richard Hart can't make the victory lap unless Hex is above 52 cents. So I'm just going to say it right now. Richard Hart cannot go to all the guys within the community and rub their nose in it and make them kiss his ring with just a precedent saying that, blockchain is speech. His baby, Hex, has to be at least at the all-time high. It just doesn't ring. It's like, well, your token's crap. Okay, thanks for doing this thing. No, the glory. And guess what? Richard Hart has the personal capabilities to put Hex at 52 cents personally, himself alone. That's the other thing other people don't have. Like everybody's shilling you some meme coin. It's poor brokey people who don't have any resource, right? They can't affect anything. Richard can. And it's not just because of sacrifice money. But see, that's the whole plan in this whole thing. The reason it's sitting there, and you can criticize him, oh, he bought the top of the local top of ETH. Fine. If we're saying that ETH is going to be at 10 to 15 or $17,000, great. Well, look at where that puts Richard as it relates to those sacrifice dollars coming back into the Pulse chain. A rising tide lifts all boats. And if you look at his last tweets, he talks a lot about how to understand how price movements work. And what you think is a 1x is really a 4x. And you can learn that from him on his tweets. He's way smarter than I am. But I get the point. And so this next go around where Richard has people bow down and kiss his ring, which he would like, and where you win, Hex is going to at least have to be at 52 cents or higher for there to be any credibility. And he knows it, but I think that's baked in. And that's cool. It's very cool. So I'll be back. Richard Hart will be back. And he'll be back streaming. And I think we're going to see a whole different, it's almost like Richard Hart. A bullet came and hit his ear. Bing! Just like Trump. Sounds different, is different. Appreciates things differently. Went through a lot for us and for himself. Kind of similar. Fight, fight, fight. That's what Richard says. Actually, that's what Trump said. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, this is, no offense, Balliot brand, but this is better than you coming in, although it's a great indicator. Maddie Allen, what's going on? Hex Therapy Live. Sup, all? Thanks for stopping in and saying hello. I think what we're going to see is a lot more streamers. So if you're somebody that used to stream, like I used to stream almost daily, and I'm only doing it weekly now and on a different topic, I'm going to be back too. I want to encourage you to be back. Folks, if there's ever a time to start streaming and supporting and chilling the things that you love, it's now. And coming up into this election. So you have some time. You have about 30 some odd days to get yourself together and prepped and start streaming. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. And then when you go to these events, it's even more fun. So I really, really encourage you, if you're somebody, this is it. You missed this last time. You're like, I really wanted to do this thing. Do it. Do it. Do it. Because here's the thing. No matter what you have to say, there's some audience that's going to relate to you. I wear a jacket. My hair is gray. I talk to people over 50. People call me an old man. A lot of young people go, you don't know Jack. Fine. I'm not for everyone. But no one's for everyone. Richard Hart is an acquired taste, if you know what I'm saying. Taryn, what's going on, man? Thanks for being here. All right, Briz, Maddie Allen, Ryan Hungate, all the usual suspects. And then Archie, you get to finish this one up. Crypto Jumpstart guys did a few streams about Hex and Pulsechain in the last few days. Fantastic. The more the merrier. Bring them in. 219 people. Feels like a ball run. Boy, it hasn't been this big in a long time. Folks, thank you for joining the Pulse today. My name is Matt. Don't mess with Texas. And folks, we'll catch you next time.